they were making enough money to support 3 families, with money left over to travel to Europe. Were there a lot of women running pot businesses in the 70s, or were you a pioneer?
I think pioneer. Certainly a brownie business, an edible business. We were written up in Great Ladies of San Francisco. There was a book.
And the Great Books of Hashish, where my baby picture. There's a baby picture of me standing next to a pan of brownies that ran in the Great Books of Hashish.
Did you ever resent it?
I don't think so. No, no, because I don't think that it took anything away from me. As I got a little older, I was taught that I couldn't tell other children or other people what my parents did for a living. And that perhaps made for awkward moments in show and tell. But I always said that my parents were artists, which is true, just not the whole truth. But I was taught from a very young age that what the consequences might be if anyone found out what my parents did. So I did learn to keep that secret, and I don't think I ever spilled it.
I feel like, one of the amazing things about the way this museum is structured is I feel like the waiting is part of the experience. Black people have been waiting for a lot of stuff for a long time. Why not wait to see the past?
Why not wait a little bit more?
Yeah. So you're waiting for 90 minutes to go down. And I wanted to go to the basement first. That was my priority. Mm-hmm. What was yours?
I went straight to the top.
So Jenna.
I went straight to the top. I mean, part of it was the group I was with. I was with a bunch of girlfriends who also grew up in D.C. We just were so happy to be in. We were so happy we scored tickets. We were just like, we want to bask in it. Mm-hmm. So that was our top priority. Mm. So we rode the elevators all the way up, or the escalators all the way up, and did that.
The experience I had going down first was it's 3 floors below ground, and as you go down the elevator, there's a timeline that rolls backward. Mm-hmm. So it starts in 2016 and you wind up in 1400. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, I thought we were going to stop at 16 something, 14. This is 200 more years than I thought I was going to have to deal with. And so you're in this space with low ceilings, very little light, and you're getting this history of slavery that begins in Africa. And it tells a very compelling story of how normal slavery was, but a different kind of slavery. It was non-racialized and it was temporary.
How do you mean non-racialized?
It wasn't just Black people who were slaves.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's true. And that was a very interesting part of it. I mean, I got really lightheaded when I was in the basement. There's like a stone that they have that was used as a platform to sell slaves on. And right under it says the average life expectancy was 7 years. Mm. And just, there was a 7-year-old child, there's these kids walking around and you're just like, oh, the amount of time you've been alive is the amount of time you were basically more or less guaranteed to be alive after you arrived here. And that was really emotional. And I was with my friend Eden, and I had to put a hand on her shoulder. I got really dizzy, partially because we were at the club kind of late the night before. I was very dehydrated. I'm not gonna lie. But it was also really emotional, and I wasn't ready to face that. And I also knew I'd come back. I knew I'd be here again, either with you or just with my family. Like I knew, just like for me, growing up and coming to the Smithsonian on the weekends, that I was going to be here many more times over the course of my life.
How is this different? I mean, I guess this is an obvious answer, but I am curious, how is this different from your other Smithsonian experiences?
I mean, it's different in the sense that it's just every detail here is so Black. The people who work here are Black. The food here is Black. The souvenirs are very Black. And that's just not the experience when you go to any other Smithsonian museum.
This is the Memory Palace. I'm Nate DeMeo. Sit down. Take a pen. Pencil is fine. And write this down. Section 269. Every devise or bequest of lands, tenements or hereditaments, or any interest therein, of freehold or less than freehold, either present or future, vested or contingent, or of any money directed to be raised by the sale thereof, contained in any last will and testament or codicil or other testamentary writing in favor of any religious or ecclesiastical corporation, sole or aggregate, or any religious or ecclesiastical society, or to any religious denomination or association or persons, or to any person or body politic in trust, either expressed or implied, secret or resulting, either for the use and benefit of such religious corporation, society, denomination, or association, or for the purpose of being given or appropriated to charitable uses or purposes, shall be null and void, and their heir at law shall take the same property so devised or bequeathed, as though no testamentary disposition had been made. Now write an essay interpreting that statute. If you're black. If you're white, the registrar, who was also white, who was always white, at the Monroe County Courthouse in Canton, Mississippi in 1964, would give you a different passage from the state's constitution to write and interpret. A single sentence, and then a simple answer. And if you couldn't get it right, if you couldn't read or write, you could and certainly would be waved through as a person of high moral standing and be allowed to vote. Allowed to exercise a right granted to every American male over the age of 21 by the 15th Amendment since 1870, and to every American female over the age of 21 by the 19th Amendment since 1920. The same rights that were denied by design by what they called literacy laws in the states of the old Confederacy, not particularly old then in 1964. In Canton, Mississippi, 72% of the population was black. In its county in that year, there were more than 12,000 African Americans eligible to vote. Fewer than 200 were actually registered to do so. 265 people stood in line and waited. Waited in knit caps and fedoras, suits and ties and Sunday best. The day was cold and the wind blew and bit, and they tugged down at the end of their shirt sleeves or blow into their hands. 265 people. Many of them elderly and bent, old enough that their parents maybe, their grandparents surely, had been slaves there in that county. Maybe had laid the cornerstone or put up the white columns or stacked bricks and built the courthouse that had stood in the center of town since 1855, inside which a man in an office with a Confederate flag affixed to the door decided who got to vote.
Whatever you do, don't call this story inspirational. Because it's not. It's depressing. Because it says that if you live in Lenox and things go awry, you have to have an Eric and an Alina in your corner and be as tough and single-minded and one in a million as Carlos is to make it out. That's why the capitalization of talent is such an issue, because these are really long odds. Back with Carlos and his sister at Eric Eisner's house. Eric turns to Carlos and asks,
Do you remember feeling pessimistic for the first time in your life?
Were you ever pessimistic?
I wasn't really pessimistic as...
Overwhelmed?
Yeah, overwhelmed is a great word. I guess it's just a lot happening at the time. And then I was back in the public school. It was like I started right back, right from square one.
Eric turns to Carlos's sister and asks whether she ever worried that her brother had had enough. What would you do if he gave up?
Do you remember a time when you looked at him and were concerned that he was... God, what would you do if you gave up?
Well, I was a very optimistic person.
He was a very optimistic person, she says. I feel like he was strong for the both of us a lot of the time.
He was strong for both of us a lot of the time.
Carlos is looking straight ahead as she's speaking, like he doesn't want to cry. Then she says it again.
Honestly, I never thought of him as somebody who gives up.
Honestly, I never thought of him as someone who gives up.
I was never worried about it.